Hello everyone, Jessica Kubasi here. Today I'm going to be going over a simple portrait edit, and this portrait right here was shot with a 50mm 1.2 lens, and I used a beauty dish. It was actually my fourth or fifth time shooting in studio, so I was kind of still learning. As you can see, the beauty dish was shot at an angle, so it was kind of on this side of her face. So it was pointed more to this left, so around this area. So as you can see, there are shadows here, and that's kind of the look that I wanted. So we're going to just emphasize that with some colors, and I want to go over some other techniques that you can use to enhance the image. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually, I wanted to make her hair a little bit more voluminous, because that's what we were trying to do, like we were actually shooting, but it's kind of hard to do that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is duplicate the background layer by pressing Command J. And then what I'm going to do is go to Filter, then Liquify. And Liquify is an amazing tool. You can use it for a lot of things. For the most basic things, people use this to change body shapes, the face, other stuff like that. But today we're going to be using it to change the hair. Now, before you get started, go ahead and use the Freeze Mask tool. And what this is going to do is you want to go over the areas that you don't want it to manipulate. So let's say I just wanted to make the hair bigger. If I use the freeze tool on her face, that means even if I accidentally go over some areas of her face, it won't affect it at all. So I'm just going to select something a little smaller. Actually, I don't want it that much. So you just want to kind of go over it just a little, just over her face. So any area that you do not want to be affected. So again, immediate face area. And then I'm just going to go over those two parts of her hand. And down here. Again, you don't have to do everything. I'm just lightly going over. So that's the area I do not want manipulated. I want this to stay the same. So then what you're going to do is take the warp tool right here, the forward warp, and then I'm going to make this slightly bigger. I'm not going to make it that big. Okay. So just choosing a size. You have to take a class just to choose the correct size. Okay. So I'm just going to slightly, okay, 100, 1,000, 1,500 is what we'll use. So I'm just going to slightly go upwards. And I think I'm going to lower this. There we go. Okay, finally, 1,000, guys, 1,000. So I'm just going to slightly just pull up a little bit. You don't want to go too crazy because you don't want to smudge too much or warp too much. But you just want to give a little bit of volume. And watch, this is really cool. You see the freeze area? If I do like this, it's not going to affect the area that I selected. So that's why we did that. So if I accidentally do, pull too much, it's not going to affect the arm. So the arm and the hand will still be okay. And you're just pulling out. It really depends on, how much volume you want. It's always a struggle to kind of get this to look at least a little natural. Okay. So then I'm going to press OK. And as you can see, it just very slightly added some volume to her hair. And that's exactly what I wanted. So now I'm going to go and make a new raster layer by going to Command-Shift-N, what I just did, or you can press this little button right here. And what we're going to do now is just highlight the face before we do any coloring. So you're going to want to make sure your foreground and background color are white and black. If you don't have this, just press the letter D and then it switches. So we're going to take the brush tool, and I just have mine at 0% hardness and the size is 400. And I'm going to change my normal layer to soft light. And then what I'm going to do is just go over the areas that I want to emphasize. And again, my opacity is going to be really low because I don't want it to affect it that much. So what you have to do is go to the darker areas of her skin. See how this is dark? You're going to want to go over it with black just to kind of make it pop. And then with the whiter areas, so her cheeks, just go over that with white. So you're just, you're just adding more highlights to the highlights, and you're just darkening the darks. You don't have to do this if you don't want to emphasize the photo too much, but I'm just doing this because I like makes the photo pop a little bit more. So that's pretty much what I did. And also you can use this on the hair as well. So again, the highlights on the hair, and then you see the darker areas of the hair, just go over those with the black. So it's kind of already creating like a shine. It's like she'll come out looking like she's in a L'Oreal commercial. Like, yeah, one of those hair commercials. Because we all know that's not real. We all know your hair's not that shiny, okay? Just saying. That's all Photoshop. You know what commercial? Maybe it's Maybelline. No, maybe it's Photoshop. Okay. I was never an advertising major. Okay. So I just slightly dodged the hair. You guys saw that. I was just going over it randomly. There's no right or wrong with this. Just don't use one color for the whole thing. You have to add the highlights, and then you have to darken the darker areas. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight her eye really quickly. And again, staying with the black and white, and I'm just going to go to soft light one more time. And I'm just going to go over her eye. And you can make it, if you want her eye to be lighter from the bottom, just use the white, but I actually want it to be a little darker. And I'm always changing opacity, by the way. And okay, I know some people, some retouchers and stuff do this, and I'm going to show you guys because it's like my worst nightmare. I have nightmares about this. They do this. They add the white. I mean, this is more professional, but like, yeah, they'll do this. And she'll literally look like she took some kind of, I don't know, drugs or something. I don't know. It's just keep it natural, you guys. There's really no reason to emphasize the eye like that. Just keep it natural. I just highlighted it just a little bit, as you can see. Now we can actually get into the colors and all of that. But before we do that, I'm going to show you one way of sharpening the image, and you can do this before and after, but I'm just going to do this before so you guys can see the difference before we get into the coloring. So what I'm going to do is just copy merged everything. So I went to Command A to select everything and then copy merged. And then I'm going to go to Filter, Other, and then High Pass. And by the way, I pasted that layer on by just pressing Command V. So I went to High Pass, and I'm going to just select the 4.8 because I like that it shows a little bit of detail. And then I'm going to go from normal to, you can go to soft light, you can go to overlay. But as you can see, it sharpens up the image. So I'll show you guys up close, which is great. Now you can do this again before or after you add all your colors, but I'm just going to do this before right now. So now we're going to actually start and do the colors. So let's go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and then Gradient Map. And I love gradient maps. So what we're going to use now is, let's use a black to brown gradient. And I'm going to reverse this. So it kind of looks something like that. Now you're going to want to go from normal to soft light. And it's already giving it that nice color, but we don't want it to be too strong, so we're going to lower the opacity. So we're just adding a slight color right here. And that's what's going to make your picture really nice if you slightly add colors. A lot of people just go straight out like this, which is not what I would recommend because you don't want it to be too harsh. Now we're going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and then Selective Color. And the reds is something that I always play with. So I'm going to add some of this back. And you'll see what I'm doing in just a second. Sometimes what I'll do is or actually, hold on one second. I think I made a mistake. I don't want it to be that red. Okay, there we go. Let me just add some of this, some blacks. Okay, there we go. That looks actually better. I was like, why is it so red? And as you can see, it's slightly adding all that color back in. And honestly, with selective color, it's really just experimentation. There's really no correct way to use it. You can really use it as experimental as you'd like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this to normal, but I'm going to set this over at like 44%. And as you can see, it slightly adds color, which is again what I want. And then I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, then hue saturation. And I'm going to check the colorize button over here. And I'm going to choose like something like that. And I'm going to keep the saturation as it is, around 25. And I'm just going to set this layer to darken. And I'm going to lower the opacity because I don't want it, again, to be too much. And it's I think I'm going to lower this actually. So again, it's adding in some more color. I'm going to zoom in to show you guys. It's very, very subtle. But it does make a difference though. We are going to go to selective color one more time, and what I'm going to show you guys is how to pop those highlights. You go to from reds to whites, and then you lower each of these. Now you can, lower the blacks, but I'm really not going to do that. Now you could remove that dodge layer that we just did, or lower it just to kind of balance it out, but I'm just going to actually lower this because I don't want it to be too much. I'm just lowering that selective color highlights layer. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is go to gradient fill. I'm just going to add a gradient on the very bottom. Where is it? It's not here. Oh wait, it's right there. How long have I been using Photoshop? I don't even know where that is. And then I'm just going to go to the brown one. Is that the kind of brown that I want? I'm too lazy to change it. I could just easily change it. Look at Photoshop making me do extra work. Okay. So you're just going to take a brown color, and I'm going to set this to overlay. Just to give it some extra color from the bottom. And I don't want it to be too high up, so I'm just gonna, you can drag it up or down, by the way, to adjust it. And then I'm going to go to the same thing again, the gradient fill, and I'm just going to choose black now. But now I'm going to go and set it to multiply. And I don't want it to reach her face, so I'm just going to lower it just a tiny bit. And I think we are all set actually with that. Let me just lower this a tiny bit. And again, you can lower a gradient fill by double clicking and then just dragging down and up. Down and up. And I don't know if you can do this. I think you can do it sideways too. Just get creative. So let me show you guys the before and after. So this is the portrait. This is after. Okay, this is after. This is before. And I'll higher it up so you guys can see that. And let me show you guys the full version before and after. And you could probably do a lot more with this if you really wanted. You can add some extra colors in there, but I really want to keep it very simple. So again, just a simple color edit. And you can use these techniques on your portraits as well. I hope this tutorial helped you guys out, and thank you guys so much for watching.